So this is part two. Sorry, my battery died. So part two, I was saying how me coming from this place, with me and my old coworkers, when I moved to New York, we had this outing where we went to this rooftop, and then after that, me and a group of others went to the next one. This is an area where there's mostly offices, restaurants, hotels, and bars, right? This is not where families and people this is a place where mostly adults are going to be. And so on our way there, I'm talking to my coworker who I just fresh to New York, maybe 2 months in, maybe even less. And I'm like, yeah, I love New York. At that time, I was realizing there's a lot of women looking at me, and I thought they were interested. I was mistaken. Um, and so I was saying, yeah, New York, there's a lot of beautiful women and whatever, and talk about, yeah, yeah. And then as I'm saying that, I'm talking about it, I'm talking about New York, and basically saying there's a lot of people, a lot of women interested in me. That's what I'm trying to say, but I'm not really saying that, right? And they're not interested in me. They were just like, I was a target individuals. They perps and they're doing whatever they need to do. But at that time, I was like, oh wow, get so much attention. And we're walking there, I see some young person. Can't tell. Just like I said in the last video, looks like who can go into late teen or early 20s. But just because we're in an area where there's mostly adults, this is in that adult area, I'm like, okay, that's most likely an adult. Now, nothing special about her. She's not ugly. She's not, and I'm not trying to insult people. I'm not trying to be like judging people based on what they look like. But it's not somebody who will give my attention. The only reason why she got my attention is because she was staring at me and walking like toward me, like really like staring, like you couldn't even miss that. Can you imagine what you're talking about here in New York, and then you see this woman, this person, just staring at you and looking at you, and you point the finger, like for example, look at that. And it's like, oh, we baited you, we caught you. There was noise campaign, all kinds of doors slamming, because they're like, oh, you see, how old is she? Oh, she's underage. She was like, okay. She was obviously trying to get my attention, and she like literally staring at me. And I'm in the orchestrate. Obviously, they knew I was talking about what was happening in New York. They orchestrated for when I'm talking about New York, and I get this. There's a lot of women and whatever, and then this young person comes, who I'm looking at her. I'm guessing young adultish, but can go either way. But I'm not interested in her. But the fact that she's just staring at me and passing by and looking at me, I'm like, let's see. Like for example, look, because I was getting so much attention in New York, and I was thinking that just because they were interested in me, and this person comes and just like stare at me, and I'm like, hey, look at that. When in reality, they're just perps, right? And so they're like, you see, that's proof. And they're like, and they used all these different condescending ways of making me subscribe to this. And like, you can't even say you are here trying to make me subscribe to somebody who just like was staring at me while I'm talking about, hey, in New York, there's women and this young adult, I don't know what she's, this young person who can be a late teen or early 20s, right? Just like my roommate who's like, who can go either way, but she was 24 years old. Staring at me and walking toward me. So obviously I'm looking at that, I was like, she's probably like a young adult. This is an area where there's mostly adults. She's staring at me and walking. It's like, no, actually, that was not. Okay, stupidity. And I'm not even interested. I'm just trying to make my point to my coworker, who's like, who I'm talking about. It's like there's I'm getting a lot of attention and whatever. The women in New York, and I see this person just walking and staring at me. Can you imagine? It's like, oh, we baited you. They are. It is the most pathetic humans to have to subscribe, to have to sell this fantasy and try to gaslight somebody into accepting this fantasy, this reality that is so childlike. You hear this noise campaign. All of that is all to try to make you subscribe to that. Can you imagine? This is the life this is the life they live. Do you understand the sadness and the patheticness of that? They have nothing real. This is what it has gone to. And they're like, oh, it should have been, what, I should have like pointed the finger of this person who's just staring at me. Can you imagine yourself? I'm like, oh, look at it. Look. My point, you see? It's just, I'm like, oh my God. To all my target individuals, this is the kind of people who then say, yeah, we caught you. Somebody who just looking at you while you're talking about women and then you see, oh, you see that? It's pathetic. And they're like, oh, that's proof. And they're like, you're nothing. These people came and say, Roy Moore. Me, coworkers, meet places where there's mostly adults. We're going to an adult bar place. There's only offices and hotel around here. This person coming by herself, just walking, who can pass for early 20s or late teens, like, just, it's like you see you pointing. I'm not even interested. To be honest, she's not somebody who, not to say she's, let me say, not to say she's not a bad looking person. It's just like she would not even interest me. You're just like, okay, whatever. Just some young person there. But the fact that she was just staring at me and passing, walking by me, is just, oh, look at. You see, look. You see? I see, that's proof. Pathetic. And they're like, oh, awkward. Like, yes, very awkward. You came and say, Roy Moore, you're here to the person I pointed that was staring at me. As I was talking about, oh, women, and it's like, oh, yeah, you see? Or I should have been like, oh, I said, like, she was literally, like, staring at you while staring at me while I'm talking about, oh, the women and this and that. And you see somebody just talking. I'm like, oh, you see? I'm not even interested in her. I'm just saying, like, look, what's, why New York is, look, just. And they're like, that is proof. See, because, like, how old is she? Is she underage? Like, based on where I'm at, based on the locations, based on the fact that she's by herself, just walking, just staring at me. At the time, I'm like, oh, she's staring at me. I'm like, just come out, like you just, okay, she's probably like a young adult somewhere. But is it possible she's not? Most likely, very possible. I don't know. But the fact that she was just staring at me and she wanted to be seen, I'm like, oh, look at that. It's those people that look like they can go either way. So I'm like, okay. Was I even interested in her? No. She was just like, obviously wanted my attention. And she was staring at me while I was talking about me in New York to my coworker. And I can see my coworker just looking down, smiling a little bit. It's like, okay. I was like, oh, whatever. It's like, you see that speed? I was like, stupid. They are so sad and pathetic. While they came and speak about an actual pedophile that picked up kids, they're here trying to say, oh, you see, you pointed to this person. You didn't know how. Oh, Jesus. They were banging the doors. They were slamming this. They were trying to do all these things, the noise campaign. They tell me how they're going to frame me in our trial to try to disorient me because this sounds like what it is, obvious fraudulency. True, this is what they do. These people calling people nothing. This is what their life consists of. Do you see how they project reality? These people are truly the nothing. What self-respecting individual would do this and be okay? How humiliating it is to live this life. And look at yourself in the mirror and think, it is so degrading for yourself as a grown man and woman to try to make somebody accept these things. And they're like, please, you can't even say Roy Moore. How much humiliation can one have? Well, you try to point it. It's delusional. And the thing is, it's not even somebody I was interested in. It's just because she was staring at me like, oh, they're gonna F you. You're gonna fight, you're gonna get knocked out. I was like, you see how they try to get away from the obvious? Escaping from in their BS storyline. I'd rather get tortured and die, but thank God I didn't have to do what they do. It's humiliating. And calling others, you're nothing when I'm doing this stupidity onto people. I think in their mind they think, oh, you're nothing because we're doing this to you. Because you're nothing. No. So who is the something who can try to create this as a reality? Try to create this as something that makes sense. Only nothings. I will never let them live the fantasy. They're like, oh, you're gonna serve. But you see how they have to counter reality? Or you'll be framed. You'll be framed. It's delusional. To all my target individual is pathetic to having to live this life. This is why I'm showing these pictures. Could you live that life and find yourself respectable? Some of them like, oh, for our kids. If this person, whatever, if let's just say she's maybe like a 17-year-old, I don't know. To me, if I looked at her, I'll give her 20 years old maybe. But you can never. That's what the check I do. I'm not gonna be like, But let's just say she's underage. You as an adult parent, would you say, hey, go now? It's just humiliating. And they're like, we're doing for our kids. You trust this, please. This is how I force this thing. She comes and just stares at you when I'm talking to wanting you to just to get your attention as you're talking about it. Everything is orchestrated. Of course they know I was talking about this. So this person, whoever, me, I'm telling you, like I give her early 20s. But mind you, these things can, because even my own roommate, who's 24, 25 years old, could easily, if she passed me again, and they did this, if she passed by me, and they did this to me, where it was my roommate that walked by me like that, they could make me imagine the same thing. Is she underage? I don't know. She could be. My roommates, they could easily make me have this battle. Now I know, obviously, I'm saying that because she's 24, 25. But if this person passed by, and she was not my roommate, and they were doing this battle, I will have this back and forth again. But the sad part is, this person, it was not even like, it's not somebody who made me, I was not interested in her by any means. It's because I was talking about to him, about me in New York. I see this person just staring, walking by me, just literally want to be seen, just like walking to me and just being staring. And I'm like, and I literally point to him, like, you see? Because she's staring at me. And I'm like, this is New York, look at the attention I'm getting. Look. And she's like, and I thought it was because people were interested in me, but they weren't. And that is proof to them. To all my target individual, I say these things to make you understand the level of self-respect these people have for themselves. They have no self-respect. For them to try to get you to subscribe to these things, using this illogicalness and do all kind of noise campaign to intimidate you to accept these things, shows how delusional these people are. Doing everything possible to get you to accept, because what's happening is they benefit from what's happening to you, and so they want you to accept this fantasy they've put together, when in reality these people are truly a threat to kids. They are the pedophiles. They can't even speak Roy more. They are here stimulating me, forcing me to have dreams of kids and stimulating me to anybody who even has resembled like a kid. It could be a 30-some-year-old woman. She looked like a kid a little bit. Oh my gosh, stimulation. It's just like that now. This sad, pathetic, falsifier as it gets. Try to find whatever they can. To all my target individuals, stay strong, know that justice will be done. These people are clowns. They are clowns. But these clowns are getting benefit from doing what they do to you. I don't see them as people who respect themselves at this point. Stay strong and know justice will be done.